I'm now going to look at how to evaluate an expression for a given value for a variable or more than one variables. We want to look at how the substitution is performed, because once the substitution is done, this will basically come down to a matter of simply obeying the order of operations. Now, starting off with an easy example, if we want to evaluate an expression like y plus 5, and of course, since this is an expression, not an equation, we're not trying to solve, we are trying to evaluate, which means you're going to have to be given what you're evaluating for. So this time we're going to evaluate for y equal 3. When we're evaluating an expression, I think that parentheses are a good idea. In other words, when I'm ready to evaluate, I'll pull out the y. In place of the y, I'll leave a pair of parentheses. In those parentheses, I put in the value that we're supposed to be evaluating for, and then again, just obey the order of operations. The only operation here is addition, so we'll go ahead and we'll do the addition. So there was a simple example, and it usually is very simple to do when you have only one variable. If we want to look at a more complicated expression, maybe something like a squared plus 3a plus 7, we're going to evaluate this one for a equal 5. Again, removing the variable. Wherever the variable is removed, you put in that place a set of parentheses. The parentheses are helpful, especially when negatives get involved. There are no negatives involved this time, but it will prevent lots of different types of mistakes. Again, just obeying the order of operations here. We have exponents, we have addition, we have multiplication. So we're going to do the exponents first. 5 squared is 25, and then we just bring everything else down because we just want to take one step at a time. Then the multiplication. And last of all, the addition. And addition, of course, is done from left to right. Now, these evaluations can be done very easily on your calculator. As a matter of fact, we can redo this one. If you simply substitute in and use parentheses like we've done here, we could put into our calculator a parenthesis, then put in the 5, close the parenthesis, square, plus, and there's the 3, and you open the parenthesis and put in the 5 like we had written, and then the plus the 7, and we come up with the same result. So your calculator actually is programmed to follow the order of operations. So if you can get things, if you can get things typed in on your screen the way they look on the paper, then it will do it correctly for you. Let's go back to another example. We need to next work with some negatives to see how they go in and what we have to be careful of when they are being used. If we were to look at a 3x minus 5x squared, and we're going to evaluate this one for x equal negative 2. Again, the parentheses will prevent certain common errors. For example, when I put the negative 2 in here, it's not usually a problem right there in that first part of the equation. But a lot of people think that this negative sign is the negative that was on the negative 2 when it's not. The negative that's on the negative 2 goes in the parentheses. So again, here following the order of operations, we're going to square first. So we're going to hold on to this multiplication. Squaring, this results in a 4. Next, multiplication. 3 times negative 2 is a negative 6. Minus 5 times 4 is 20, which of course negative 6 minus 20 is a negative 26. And again, the calculator could have done this for us in the correct order. We could put in the 3, and then in parentheses we put the negative 2, just like it was written on the paper. Then the subtract, and then the 5, parentheses again, negative 2, in the parentheses, that part was squared, and we hit enter, and again the calculator agrees with our answer. If these parentheses weren't used, if we type it in, just leaving out one set of parentheses or the other, then things would not be done in the correct order. As a matter of fact, the negative would not be squared as appropriate. And we can just try that and see that just by forgetting one set of parentheses, that this is going to give us a different result. As a matter of fact, it's going to give us an incorrect result. So those parentheses are going to be needed every time you make a substitution. Now we're going to have a few problems where we work with more than one variable. And you're going to have to be careful to make the correct substitution at the correct time. Let's look at 7m plus 4n squared minus 5. Of course, they're going to have to tell us that this substitution is 4m equals 6 and n equal 7. Making the substitutions, we will again pull out the variables, leave in their place parentheses. When the parentheses are there, we put the correct constant in the correct set of parentheses, and once again we're going to follow the order of operations. Order of operations should say square first, multiply, add, subtract last. But again, since the calculator follows the order of operations, we could jump straight to the calculator for this problem. And I can just type in the 7, again with the parentheses, and then put the 6 inside the parentheses, and then plus 4 open parentheses. We always have to have the same number of open parentheses as we have closed, and vice versa. And let's not forget to square that part. And then a minus 5, and immediately the calculator follows the order of operations, and we are given the correct result. So as far as evaluating an expression is concerned, it's important to use the parentheses, put the correct constant inside the parentheses, and then after that it's all a matter of obeying the order of operations.